All right, and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive Safe Dave here, along with Jeff McKinney, Vice President of Safety over there at the GTI Group of companies. Jeff, real quick, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Go Dogs. I
Go
heard
to,
y'all talking about the TCU, and I'm from Atlanta, so go Dogs.
yeah, you
How
have
about you?
every right to be pounding your chest today. That was
No more
quite
interview today.
well. Yeah, that was good. You definitely definitely demonstrated who's number one in the country. Yet again, two in a row. Right? Been a long time since we had two in a row.
In the road. Last time they had it was, 30, 40 years ago with Vince Dooley. So
So it's going to be.
I just wish there was a better game. TCU's better than what they showed last night.
I think so. You know what? I don't know what transpired, but there's just some days you don't have it, and I'll tell you, and there's some days you can't be stopped. And yesterday, Georgia just couldn't be stopped.
No.
They were on a roll. They were ready, and they put it on them early and often.
Yeah,
All right, so
they
let's
did.
jump right into Jeff. Let me just say, you're vice president over there at the GTI Group. Let me ask, just so if people don't know, what is the GTI Group, and how does Jetco delivery fall into that?
Well, about 4 years ago, the GTI Group, or an investment company, bought up about six companies and put us under the GTI Group of companies. So we have GTI Canada, GTI USA, Precision Specialized, Jetco, Nomad Transport, and Foxconn Logistics. So we're just a group of companies that we have a variety of services, transport management, brokerage, intermodal, a little bit of everything. We can help out in the transportation industry.
Let me ask you a quick question. Do those run under different MCs? Are they all under the same one? Or I'm just curious.
Different MCs.
I got you. Very interesting. How that plays out. Do you work with each one of those entities directly?
I do my best. Main- I do what I can do here in the U.S. and Canada. I do the very best I can do with the Canadian group, but it's a challenge.
So here we go. We're gonna do a little bit of history on you. Um, how long you been in trucking? Pretty much.
Well, I would say when I back in 1988 when I left the police department in Atlanta, and I went and started driving a straight truck delivering pet food products and just kind of moved my way up.
Was do you when you did that? Did you ever envision yourself to be the vice president of safety somewhere at some group at the time, or you just kind of morphed into that throughout time?
It was when I was at a small company called Warner Enterprises when there were less than 1,500 drivers. And someone started talking to me about going into the safety program there, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
Here's a great question, and I think I wanted to start with this because I kind of want to get into this. Why do you consider compliance and safety to be two completely different things?
It is completely too. You have compliance, which is regulatory. A driver's license or twigs, expirations, things of that nature. But that's not safety. Safety's behavior. Safety is a DNA. How do we act and how do we drive on the road? What type of behavior? And so you got to separate that. I mean, it's all one deal, safety and compliance, but you have to have a behavior side and you have your regulatory side.
And when you talk to both of those, are they? And I know you differentiate those the compliance side. Obviously, those are boxes that you check.
Mhm.
How do you check the boxes on the behavior side?
Well, we use a lot of the industry. The landscape of the industry is starting to change, and we're getting all these telematics. Um, but you're just looking and trying to talk to the drivers. And again, we'll talk about that later. Talk to the drivers, not talking at them, but talking to the drivers and how they deal with the everyday interaction with the traffic, with the safety department, with the operations, and you hope that these professionals have the safety in their DNA and they want to do the right thing every day and 24 hours a day.
And when you say safety in their DNA, are we talking about bringing out what really needs to happen, or when we talk to them? Because I think most of us want to do the right thing, but in essence, don't you believe that coaching is important? Redevelopment, retraining, continuing that process helps the driver to be better at what they do, the skill set at what they do?
From the Marine Corps and as a general aviation pilot, it was continued education. And that's exactly right. It's coaching, 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 being repetitive. And, you got to put attaboys in there. And you got to remember, too, when something does happen, was it a simple mistake or was it something deliberate? It's not, one thing, this driver did this and now we're going to beat him up or beat her up. It is, was this not a mistake? Can we work with this person and move forward? And, back then, for some of us that drove a long time ago, it was always, chop ahead. And it can't be that way any longer.
Yeah, I truly believe the pendulum has swung the other way. The days of 5,000 miles a week are gone. The days of how many miles did you drive safely are here. And
Yeah.
and I truly believe that it is all of our responsibility, and it doesn't matter what department you work in. It truly, you don't have to work in safety. You don't have to work in operations. You can work in customer service. You can work in recruiting. It doesn't matter what department you work in. I truly believe that the safety culture, the safety ideology, and the safety message has to come from everyone, no matter where you touch it, no matter where they go and what they do. Do you agree?
I agree. My safety department is the entire company. It's not just one person. It's not Jeff saying we got to do this. It's everybody as a team, and you got to work with the front lines, and that front lines next to those professional drivers. It's got to be everybody's responsibility.
And here's an interesting question, and I'm going to ask it because I saw this question and I want to know. You said instead of using the term driver, what should we call the backbone of our country instead?
You know, Professional commercial vehicle operators, professional drivers, professionals. I treat these professionals as pilots. I think of it this way: we see the pilots at the airport. They have about 40 to 300 or 400 people behind them, and they're flying them, getting to their destination safely. But how many people are around a professional driver every single day, and have our lives in their hands somewhat? So, they're the backbone. They're the ones that kept moving. Unfortunately, it didn't. It wasn't fair for these professionals during the pandemic, but they are professionals. They do move America, and we owe a lot to these professionals that are in these big, huge 80,000 pound pieces of equipment, 65 to 100 and some odd, feet long. It's a huge undertaking, and I challenge people to, you know, get to know a professional driver and learn exactly what it is that we do. It is neat. I can remember as a kid always wanting to see a big truck rather than the fire truck and the police truck. And I've been to some of these career days with, at schools, and everybody grab, they go straight to the truck. So it's a huge. I loved it. I love driving, and it was almost like a paid vacation. See the country, see this beautiful country on the road.
Yeah, sometimes we consider here at BCB Live, we consider the professional driver the when we talk about it, just like in the NFL or just like in the NBA, they're the most elite. They're the top of their game. I mean, they're A drivers. They didn't get a C on their test. They got an A, and you know, they should be considered as such when it comes to something like driving. If you've ever, and Jeff, obviously you drove like I, if you've ever had to back one of these things into a hole in the dark, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to trying to do it as safely as possible every single time. You know, we talk about training, and we talk about how to utilize technology as we move forward. How has technology benefited? I know that we have new safety guidelines. I know that we have new collision avoidance systems and lane departure, but there's other tools that now that we're using to help us identify behaviors, right? I mean, the units and the logs, they're also helping to identify behaviors that you've been talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you have the ELD telematics that we have in it. It's bringing in so much information. We have some drive cams in our trucks. We have them facing inward and outward. And, you use all this information, and it's so much information, but you have to figure out what's going to help you. But you got to be transparent with the professional driver and say, okay, how is it going to help the driver? Don't just put stuff in there and say, this is how you use it, and don't say why you're using it. We're trying to help our professionals be even better and help them become better outside that commercial vehicle when they go home, and it follows them.
Can it be a hindrance if not used properly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we just start throwing things in these trucks, and we're not transparent with the driver, they're gonna, the time that they have, the way they will think about things, it will be a distraction to them, saying, why do they do this? The big brother's coming after me. Why they want to watch me do this? Why do they watch my speeding? And it gets, the longer the drivers are in there, in their trucks driving and doing everything the right way, you're in there alone, and your mind's going to start talking to you, and things, the information that you have, it's going to start getting diluted, and things can change on you in a hurry.
You talk about distractions. Obviously, technology to me has played an important part in not only identifying with a cell phone. I mean, a long time ago, we've always had distractions while driving, each and every one of us. So whether they be daydreaming, whether they be eating, whether they be talking to somebody, or not just paying attention, and then the cell phone and the technology that's added to it. What's the best way to combat these types of behaviors?
Looking at when we put the cameras into the trucks, most of the drivers, when we first started the program, we brought the drivers in, let them look at themselves, and we have habits that sometimes we don't recognize that we do. And just showing them, not and say, hey, during a coaching session, hey, look at this. You were doing this when you were driving. You were driving one-handed with your left hand. You looked out to the left, and you started turning left, or you started turning right because you started looking right. They don't notice that until they see it on the video. So I think the videos helped us quite a bit. And then again, you have to sit there and keep talking and educating about distracted driving. I mean, we got distractions in every part of our lives. We just need to learn how to, it's not ignore it, but we have to learn how to negotiate some of these distractions that are in our everyday lives.
I've often explained it to, and it doesn't matter whether it's forward facing or outward facing or inward facing. I've always explained that a lot of these videos that we've done and utilized to help retrain and help coach, it's just like Tom Brady or any other professional athlete or anybody that's a profession goes and watches video of themselves perform to try to make themselves better. Whether you're a baseball player watching your swing, or you're a football player watching the plays that you run and what the mistakes that you make, we all watch video or even the professionals utilize that video to make themselves better. I think when you're talking about watching themselves and watching and looking at and identifying things that they didn't know they were doing, I think we're all subject to that. If we want to get better, we have to kind of see what it is we're doing, right, Jeff?
Yeah, my training is the way I've always gone is see it, say it, and do it. So if they see it, they can say, "Oh, I noticed that I was leaning to the left and driving to the left, and I'll go in there and correct it." It's a heck of a lot better than just sitting down with me and I'm trying to describe what you're doing.
Let me ask you a quick. I mean, we're talking. We've heard, and I just want you to hear, Jeff. What are some of the arguments that you've heard from drivers about or against some of this stuff? Just when you're working with them, I know a lot of them are resistant to change right off the bat. When do you see the light come? What does it usually take for that light to come on?
For our case at Jetco, the very first crash, a young lady made a left-hand turn on Highway 59, and she turned to the right just before we got to her, and the poor driver hit her rear-ended, and it kind of opened our eyes that it was not his fault. He saw that, the police saw that, and it exonerated the driver, and everybody saw that. And again, we put all this telematics and equipment into our trucks and into our trailers and everyday lives. We want to make ourselves better, and it's not just for the company to be more productive, but it's how can I help you become a better professional driver? How can I help you get home every day to go see your significant other? How can you get home and go see your children? And so that's the way that we tried out. And we started out with a couple of drivers and let them talk about it, and it spread out. And then when we had our first crash, within a week that we put this in, the ROI was great, both financially and for the drivers who saw, wow, it's a great deal. They're not spying on me; it's helping me.
You know, they, yeah, I mean, it's been studied that over, what is it, about 90% of all the crashes aren't typically the fault of the commercial driver, but these things kind of help exonerate the driver in a great deal. I just wonder, where do you see us going with safety over the next couple of years? Where are we headed, Jeff? Honestly, with not only with you, but in how we incorporate it. I truly believe it's so important. It's necessary for us to continue to talk about how are we going to expand it.
Well, we're looking at the landscape has changed again with all these telematics. But what I think is going to change a lot more is the customers, the trucking companies, their clients, all these new customers. I think the safety is going to spread out a lot more than it is now, and be more accountable. We've had so many problems with professional drivers going somewhere and sitting and sitting and sitting and wasting their hours of service. I think that's going to turn here pretty soon, where they're going to start thinking about safety and thinking about how long some of these professionals are sitting in these trucks, and it's just going to blossom out. I think it's not going to be just in the trucking industry. It's going to spread its wings and get out to others outside of the transportation industry.
I hope that you're right, and not just that. I hope at some point we can, because as soon as everyone gets behind the wheel, safety needs to be their main priority. It doesn't matter if you're a professional driver or not. And, it's going to be something that we are going to have to lead by example first in this industry. We're going to have to be the very best at it so that others can follow. And I believe you 100% behind that, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, I appreciate you coming in today and joining us for an interview. I want to congratulate. I want to thank you for your service into the industry, and thank you for doing the safety job every day. I know how vitally important. Before you get out of here, I like to ask our guests that they state their name, who they're with, and that you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Can you do that for me?
I can. It says, "Hi, I'm Jeff McKinney, Vice President of Safety for the GTI Group of Companies, and you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the industry.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. I do appreciate it, and have a great day. And by the way, go dogs.
Y'all take care.
All right. Bye now.